Om Shri Sai Ram. Dear students, today we are going to continue the lesson, The Concert by Shanta Rameshwar Rao. Before we start this session, I just want to summarize what we read in the last session, the story. It is about Smita, a 16-year-old girl's deep love for her brother Anant. Now, Anant and Smita, they live with their parents in a place called Gaganpur. Anant was a very talented young boy. He was very good at table tennis. He was the fastest runner in his school. He could play the sitar beautifully. And he and Smita were learning to play the sitar. And Anant was so good that he could compose his own tunes, much to the amazement of their guru. Now, Anant was better than Smita in almost everything. Unfortunately, he got stricken with cancer and they had to take him to Mumbai for treatment. Now, the scenario is set for this. One day, Smita was reading the newspaper, and in the newspaper, she saw the newspaper item that Pandit Ravi Shankar was going to play in their town the following day. So she got very excited, and at that moment, she forgot that Anant was lying there very sick. And her mother said, "Shh, don't make a noise because he might hear you." But Anant had already heard her. So they did not know what to do. So Smita was upset with herself. Why did I scream like that? I should have kept quiet. And later on, she was feeling very bad because as Anant was so sick and he was not being able to be treated by anybody, he was at home. And they knew that he was going to die very soon, and they were fulfilling his every wish. And now they have created a new desire in him that he wanted to go and see Pandit Ravi Shankar. So she did not know what to do. So her aunt Sushila, she said, "You go to the park and take a walk, you will feel better." So she went to the park, and while she was thinking, a sudden idea struck her. She thought, "Let me go to the concert and request Pandit to come and play for Anant." So that is where we stopped. So far we saw how much Smita loved her brother. She and Anant did everything together. She did not want to go to the concert because she did not want to leave Anant and go. He could not go because he was bedridden. But when she went to the park, a sudden idea struck her. Let me ask Panditji to come to our house and play for him. That way Anant's wish would be fulfilled. So that's where we stopped the lesson. Now before we proceed, let us look at the questions you had to answer last time. These were the questions I had given you last time. I'm sure you would have answered them in your notebooks because they are very, very straightforward questions. The first one, why did Smita's mother caution her? Remember, these questions you have to answer in 2 or 3 sentences each. Number 1, why did Smita's mother caution her? Smita's mother cautioned her to stay quiet as Anant, who was very sick, needed his sleep and rest. She was afraid that Smita's excited voice might disturb him and he might wake up. Question number 2, what chance did Anant not want to miss? Why? Anant did not want to miss the chance of attending Pandit Ravi Shankar's concert. He had always wanted to see him and hear him. He had also learned to play the sitar. So he felt that it was a chance, once in a lifetime opportunity to attend the concert. How can you say that Anant was a talented boy? Though Anant was only 15, he was the best table tennis player in his school. He was also the fastest runner. So he was not just good at table tennis and running, he was the best in the school. He was learning to play the sitar. He was already able to compose his own tunes to the amazement of his guru. Anant was better than Smita in many things. Number 4, in what way was the truth frightening to Smita? The truth was, what was the truth? The truth that Anant was dying of cancer was frightening to Smita. All of them pretended that he would be well one day, but in their hearts, they knew the frightening truth that Anant did not have many days to live and would die soon. Number 5, her eyes filled with tears. Were they tears of happiness or sorrow? Immediately you know the answer. They were tears of sorrow. There's nothing in the house to be happy about. When somebody is dying of cancer, can anybody be happy? No, they can't. Smita's eyes were filled with tears of sorrow. She was thinking of her brother Anand, who was fighting with cancer and was at the last stage. And what did he want to do? He wanted to go to the concert of Pandit Ravi Shankar, but his health did not permit him to do so. This helplessness brought tears to her eyes. Now, before we read the lesson, let's look at there's one more, extracts. Read the following extracts and answer the questions that follow. I must hear him and see him. Who is the I? I refers to Anant. Who did he want to see and hear? He wanted to see Pandit Ravi Shankar and hear his music. What chance did the speaker not want to miss? He did not want to miss the chance of listening to Pandit Ravi Shankar's voice at Shanmukananda Auditorium. Next extract. Suddenly, a daring thought came to her. Where was she when she got a daring thought? Daring thought means a bold thought. She was in the park. Who does her refer to? Her refers to Smita. What was her daring thought? Her daring thought was to meet Pandit Ravi Shankar and request him to come home and play the sitar for Anant. That was her daring thought. The last question. Your father will take you. Who said these words? Anand's mother said these words. Who does you refer to? You refers to Smita. Where would father take her? Father would take her to Pandit Ravi Shankar's concert. I hope you got all the answers right, and I hope you wrote them all in complete sentences. Don't write one-word answers. All right. Look at the glossary, the difficult words for our next session. Before we start reading, we will look at the difficult words. Now remember, you need to know all these words with their meanings, and the best way to learn them is construct your own sentences and practice. Don't try to by heart. Like I told you last time, thundering voice, very loud greeting, enchantment, feeling of great pleasure. Don't by heart like that. Use those words in sentences of your own. That way you'll retain them and it becomes even more interesting to learn the new words. What is the use of just learning a word, new words, and not using them? The purpose of learning a new word is to use them in your sentences, in your speech. Thundering welcome, very loud greeting. Enchantment, feeling of great pleasure. For example, you go to a function. You say, I enjoyed it very much. Instead, you can say, it was enchanting. So you can use all these extra words, the new words, by practicing them. Spellbound, enthralled. You are under a spell. You watch something, you cannot take your eyes off or your attention off something. Then you say you're spellbound. Plaintive, sad. Ovation, enthusiastic clapping by the audience who stand up from their seats as a sign of appreciation. What's the difference between ovation and applause? Applause is loud clapping. If somebody does a good job, you clap. Even in class, you can have an applause. If somebody comes first, gets 100% in every subject, we all not just clap, loud clapping would be called applause. Ovation is in a big crowd. Everyone really appreciates what the person has done, and sometimes you give the person a standing ovation. I'm sure you would have heard, you go to some concert and the concert is so good, everything is so wonderful, everyone stands up at the end and claps loudly for a very long period of time. That would be called a standing ovation. Wriggle, to twist and turn the body or part of it with quick movements. Like you're seeing the worms wriggling in the soil, like they're moving up and down. Here, if there's a big crowd and you want to go through it, you wriggle through it. That is called, instead of saying he went through the crowd, we can use the word wriggle. It makes better. The English looks better. Wizard, a person who is very good at something. For example, in your class, if you have somebody who is very good at maths, what do you say? He's a maths wizard. So, A person who is very good at something is called a wizard. Bother, trouble. Don't bother me, I'm very busy. That means don't trouble me. So use those words and practice them. Block, a tall building that has flats. Instead of saying a building, you say a block of flats. Could not believe their eyes. This is an idiom. Were very surprised. When you look at something, you believe what you see, isn't it? So when you see something which you cannot believe, it's too good to be true, then you say, I could not believe my eyes. For example, supposing in an exam you are expecting to fail. You did badly, but you get 100%. And you say, oh my God, I could not believe my eyes that I got 100%. So that is what you mean by could not believe their eyes, and this is an idiomatic phrase. Now let's go on to the next section of the lesson. This is probably the last. The next day, so we know that Smita has decided to go to the concert. She and Anant always did everything together, but this time she's going to the concert with the main intention of asking Pandit Ravi Shankar to come home and play, because she wanted Anand's every wish to be fulfilled. They were all fulfilling all his wishes. Whatever he asked, they were giving, because they knew he was going to die very soon. And now he wanted to go to the concert. He said it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. I kept saying that, and she knew that he really wanted to see Pandit Ravi Shankar and listen to him, and they could not fulfill that desire because he was bedridden. So she thought, I have to fulfill his desire. I will go to the concert. I will be bold. I will be daring. I will go to the stage, ask Panditji to come and play for me. Look at the advantage, or look at the way she thinks. She is so attached to her brother. She wants to make his life good till the very end. So even though it is a very difficult thing to go to the stage and ask difficult thoughts, she wants to do it. So let's read it. The next day, as Smita and her father were leaving for the concert, her brother smiled and said, enjoy yourself. Though the words came out in painful gasps, lucky you. See, you can see the love between the brother and sister. Any other brother would say, oh, you're going, you're leaving me and going. I'm not happy. He would have sulked. But Anand is not like that. He knows he can't go. He's still sick. But he says, he loves his sister so much. He says, you go and have a good time. You're lucky. Go and have a good time. So that is the bond of love between Smita and Anand. Sitting beside her father in the gallery, Smita heard, as in a dream, the thundering welcome the audience gave the master. Thundering welcome. He was so popular. Pandit Ravi Shankar is a very popular musician. So the moment he came on the stage, everyone clapped, thundering. It was like thunder. They could hear all over. That is what you mean by thundering welcome. The audience, the people who were watching. Then the first notes came over the air. They could hear the notes when he played the sitar. And Smita felt as if the gates of enchantment and wonder were opening. Spellbound, she listened to the unfolding ragas, the slow, plaintive notes, the fast, twinkling ones, but all the while the plan she had decided on in the evening before remained firmly in her mind. So look at the beauty of the language which has been used. That is why I asked you to learn the vocabulary and use them in sentences. They could have just said his music was very good. They could have finished it in one sentence. But look at the way they have written. The first notes came over the first notes came over the air, and Smita felt as if the gates of enchantment and wonder were opening. Like she was enchanted. Everyone was enchanted. That is why he's so popular. When he plays the music, he takes you to another world. He's that good. Spellbound, she just kept on listening. No distraction. It was so good. Spellbound, she listened to the unfolding ragas. Unfolding means one by one they were coming. Unfolding ragas. And what kind of ragas was he playing? The slow, plaintive notes, the sad music, and then the fast twinkling ones, the fast moving music. But all the while she was listening and enjoying, at the same time, part of her mind was thinking of a plan. And what was the plan? When the program finishes, to go and ask Pandit Ravi Shankar to come home and play for Anand. The chance of a lifetime, she heard Anand's voice in every beat of the tabla. Now when the tabla was going on, it doesn't mean that when he was doing the tabla, she could hear it. In her mind, she was, every time somebody was playing, in the mind she was hearing the voice of Anand, a chance of a lifetime. The concert came to an end and the audience gave the artists a standing ovation. They all stood and clapped their hands. A large mustachioed man made a long, boring speech. Look at the words of description: large, mustachioed man. So when you use these words of description, these are called adjectives. Large, immediately you can visualize a big man. It doesn't, when you read the words a large mustachioed man, don't think he had a big mustache. It means the man was large and he had a mustache. That's what it means. So both these words, large and mustachioed, are adjectives. They are describing the man. Made a long, boring speech. So long and boring, they are also adjectives telling us what kind of speech was made by the man. So remember, when you say a large mustachioed man, don't visualize a man with a large mustache. Visualize a big man who had a mustache. It might have been small or medium sized. He made a long, boring speech. Then followed the presentation of bouquets. Notice the way I spelled this. Don't pronounce it as buckets. You call this as a bouquet. Bouquet means a bunch of flowers which are really nicely put together. And I'm sure you all know, you have seen, when you go to any program, at the beginning or end of the program, all the chief guests or the dignitaries are handed over a bouquet, a bunch of flowers. We don't call them a bunch. Bunch can mean just an ordinary bunch. But when you say bouquet, it means tastefully arranged. So, presentation of bouquets, which is the normal way to treat the guests. Then more applause, more clapping, and the curtain came down. The people began to move towards the exits. So exits means way out. So when the program is over, what do people do? They go home. Now was the time had come. Smita wriggled her way through the crowds towards the stage. Most of the people were going home outside. She has to go through them to go towards the stage. Then she went up the steps that led to the wings, her heart beating loudly. Now the word wings of the stage, now just like the wings of the bird or the wings of the plane, when there's a stage, on the side you have some projections where you have the dressing room, the bathrooms and things like that. Those are called the wings. Or even the artist might want to go and rest. So there are some rooms on the side, they look like wings and they are called the wings of the stage. Her heart beating loudly. In the wings, a small crowd had gathered to talk about the evening concert, to help carry bouquets and teacups and instruments. Many of you who have seen the stage, who have been on stage, know what happens. Once the chief guest is about to leave, people will be there to help carry. They might be given presents, bouquets, everything. There will be some people coming to help them take everything away from the stage. He was there, standing with the man who played the tabla for him, the great wizard of music, Ustad Allah Raka. He's also very, very famous tabla player. So she went up to the stage, she saw the Pandit and the Ustad. Her knees felt weak, her tongue dry. See, when we are scared, those are the ways in which the body reacts. For example, if you're suddenly asked to go to the stage and give a speech, your throat feels dry, your knees are shaking because of the fear. So it was a big thing for her to go to such a very popular person and make her request. So she was very frightened nervous. So all that is shown on her body. Her knees felt weak and the tongue was dry. She felt the throat was very dry. But she gathered courage. She went up and standing before them, her hands folded. This is how you fold your hands. Her hands folded. What did she say? "Oh, sir." She burst out. Yes, he asked questioningly but kindly. Such a kind man. He didn't say, "Get out." He didn't say anything like that. He said, "What do you want?" And a story came pouring out. Means quickly she told a story about her brother, about how he was suffering from cancer. That is her story. The story of a brother who lay sick at home and of how he longed to hear him and the Ustad play. "Little girl," said the mustachioed man who had made the long speech, "Panditji is a busy man. You must not bother him with such requests." So the mustachioed man who had given the speech, he said, "Girl, you go away. No? Panditji is a very busy man. You can't make such requests to him." But Pandit Ravi Shankar smiled and motioned him to be quiet. He said like that. Motioned him means with the hands, not without saying anything. Be quiet, like that. He turned to Ustad Sahib and said, what shall we do, Ustad Sahib?" The Ustad moved the wad of palm from one cheek to the other. As you can see, most of the musicians and artists, they have this palm, they have it in their cheek, and then they move it to the other cheek. That's what he did. They eat the palm. The Ustad moved the wad of palm from one cheek to another. "Tomorrow morning we perform for the boy." "Yes," he said. See, the Ustad is also such a nice man. He says, "Okay, we'll go and perform for the boy tomorrow." "Yes," Panditji replied. "It's settled then." See, they both listened to Smita. They were so kind. They listened to her lovingly, patiently, and they had the compassion to say, "Okay, we'll come and play for him." Remember in the last session, I put two quotes for you. The first one was the love between a brother and a sister. And here you can see the love Smita had for the brother. She had took the courage to go to the stage and request the Panditji to come and play at home. And the compassion, the kindness of these two dignitaries, Ravi Shankarji and Ustadji, what did they say? They agreed. They listened patiently to her, lovingly to her, and out of compassion for the boy said, "We will come and play for you." They are very busy. Every day they have a program. As you can see, they are very popular. But in spite of that, they made the time to go and play for the boy, which shows their love. It was a very excited Smita who came home late at night. Anant was awake, breathing the oxygen from the cylinder. When you saw in the beginning of the story, he was not using the oxygen for regular breathing. Only when he spoke, he would go out of breath and they had to give the oxygen. But now you can see his condition has deteriorated further. He's sinking down very fast. So even without speaking, he needs to have the oxygen all the time. That means he was very close to death. Did you hear him?" he whispered. "I did," she replied, "and I spoke to him and he'll come tomorrow morning with the tabla Ustad and they'll play for you." So she gives the happy news to him. And the following morning, Aunt Sushila's neighbors saw two men getting out of a taxi which pulled up outside their block. They could not believe their ears. It's not possible, they said. They saw these two famous men, Ravi Shankarji and Ustadji, getting out of the taxi in front of the house. They saw, but they could not believe their eyes. Why would such famous men come to their humble place? They just could not believe it. Pandit Ravi Shankar and Ustad Allah Raka went up the wooden staircase and knocked softly on the door of Aunt Sushila's apartment, because that's where they were all staying. They went in, sat down on the divan by the window. Divan is like a day bed, and played for the boy, surrounding him with a great and beautiful happiness as life went out of him gently, very gently. So, what do you gather from this? He died at that time, the Ustad and Pandit Ravi Shankar ji came and played for him, and they fulfilled his very last desire. He wanted to see and listen to the music of the Panditji, and they filled the room with all the beautiful music of the sitar. And this boy, he listened to the music, and as he was listening, he passed away to the other world. So he had a beautiful death. And who does he owe it to? Both to his beautiful sister, his loving sister, who showed her deep love for him by requesting the Panditji to come. And also it shows the kindness of both the Panditji and the Ustadji to make time and play for the boy. It shows their love and their compassion. So this is a story full of love and compassion. And what is the message which we take from this? We have to emulate them. We also have to show our kindness, our love. No use just saying, I want to be kind, I want to be loving. We have to put it into practice. Whenever we can, we should demonstrate our love, our compassion for everyone and everything. So that's the story. My favorite time, quiz time. Last time we did the quiz. I don't know how you liked it. I'm sure most of you were able to do it well today. This is the second quiz, and this will tell you and me whether you listened to my story or not. If you listen, you should be able to answer every question. But this time, I thought I'll make it a little bit easier for you than last time. Last time I read the questions and you just had to listen and write down the answer. Today I'm going to read the questions, but I'm also going to put it up on the screen so that you will have the advantage of listening as well as reading and quickly writing down the answers. I'm going to read each question twice. And by the end of it, you should be able to quickly jot down the answers. You can write in one word, a phrase, a sentence if you want to, but you may not have the time because you have to be fast. If you cannot write the answer or you don't know the answer, just put a dash. The first question, who took Smita to the concert? Who took Smita to the concert? Number 2, mention 2 physical features of the man who made a long, boring speech. Mention 2 physical features of the man who made a long, boring speech. Number 3, what part of speech is long in the above sentence? What part of speech is long in the above question? Number 4, why did the audience give the artists a standing ovation? Why did the audience give the artists a standing ovation? Number 5, what is the difference between applause and ovation? What is the difference between applause and ovation? Number 6, why were Aunt Sushila's neighbors surprised? Why were Aunt Sushila's neighbors surprised? Number 7, mention 2 qualities of Pandit Ravi Shankar. Mention 2 qualities of Pandit Ravi Shankar. Number 8, what is the difference between artist and artiste? The way I pronounce is slightly different. What is the difference between artist and artiste? Number 9, what do you think happened to Anant at the end? Number 9, what do you think happened to Anant at the end? The last question, what have you learned from this lesson? What have you learned from this lesson? All right, we are going to look at the answers. You must have finished writing all of them. No extra time. Remember, it is a quiz. It's not a test or an exam. Quiz means you have to write the answers right away. Answers. No more writing, stop writing. You're just going to tick. If you got it right, 1 mark. If you got it wrong or did not write an answer, 0. Who took Smita to the concert? If you just write Smita's father, you can write Anand's father also. same thing. You can write in full sentence too. Smita's father took her to the concert. The reason I've written in full sentences, I want to make sure that you learn to write your sentences properly. Many of you are not writing your sentences properly. Some of you don't even start your sentence with capital and end with full stop. It's like a whole 10 lines of one sentence. Can't do that. When you start a sentence, start with capital, end with full stop. If the question is in the past tense, your answer should also be in the same tense. So Smita's father took her to the concert. Number 2, mention 2 physical features of the man who made a long boring speech. He was a large mustachioed man. Large mustachioed. Those 2 words are the keywords. What part of speech is long in the above question? It is an adjective. It is describing the speech. Number 4, why did the audience give the artists a standing ovation? The audience gave a standing ovation because they were totally enchanted by their performance. Or you can write the performance was very good. Any of those answers are fine. What is the difference between applause and ovation? Applause, approval expressed by clapping hands. Ovation, a crowd expressing great enjoyment of or approval with loud and long clapping. And most of the time it is a standing ovation. Not only are they going to applaud, they will stand up and give the ovation. Why were Aunt Sushila's neighbors surprised? That's number 6. They were surprised to see Pandit Ravi Shankar and Ustad Allah Raka, who were celebrities, getting out of a taxi in front of their block. All right. Number 7, mention 2 qualities of Pandit Ravi Shankar. Pandit Ravi Shankar was kind and compassionate. You can write some more if you want. You can write others also. Any 2: kind, compassionate, loving, patient, had empathy. Any of those, any 2 qualities, you can give the mark. What is the difference between artist and artiste? This I'll be very surprised if any of you got right. Artist is a person who does something with great skill. He's an artist. Supposing in your class you have somebody who draws very well. Then you say, ma'am, he's an artist. Or a person who practices any of the fine arts such as painting, drawing, sculpture, etc. Now, artist, there's a T at the end, is a professional entertainer such as singer, dancer, actor, musician, etc. So this is the difference. I thought it is nice for you to know the difference between artist and artiste. That's why I put it up for you. Similarly, you need to know the difference between ovation and applause. These are very small differences, but you need to know them. Number 9, what do you think happened to Anant in the end? He died peacefully. Even if you write died, it's an acceptable answer, but we are all happy to know that he died peacefully. His last wish was fulfilled, and more than his dying peacefully, I would think it would have given some solace to Smita and the family that he died with his last wish being fulfilled. That's wonderful, isn't it? What have you learned from this lesson? I learned quite a bit. Let's see what you learned. I just put 2. We learned about love and compassion. Okay? You can write any other suitable answer is also acceptable. Kindness, love, patience, so many things you can, empathy, so many, whatever else you want to write. You can even write kindness and compassion, kindness and love, sisterly love. Any answer suitable to that is acceptable. You need to write, even if you write 1, it is good. What have you learned from this lesson? Even 1 quality, 1 thing, you can give the mark. I hope all of you got 10 out of 10. If you got 9, it's okay, or 9 or 8, because that artist and artist, I'm sure that was a little difficult, I can understand. But if you got less than 7, that means you did not listen to my teaching, which is not good. When there's any teaching going on, it is very important that you listen, otherwise you're simply wasting your time. All right. So those who got less than 7, make sure next time you listen properly, or you can go over this video again and listen to it again. Key points which I like to put: Smita went to the concert with her father. That means key points means the main points of the lesson, this part of the lesson. Smita went to the concert with her father. She enjoyed the music. At the same time, she was mentally going over her plan of talking to Pandit Ravi Shankar. When the program was over, she went boldly to the stage and told a story to the Pandit. He was filled with compassion and agreed to come to her home and play for Anand. The following day, much to the surprise of their neighbors, Panditji and Ustad Allah Raka came to their home and played for Anand. Anand was able to see and hear them. His wish was fulfilled and he died peacefully. Comprehension check, which you need to write in your notebooks before the next session. Answer the following questions in 2 or 3 sentences each. Number 1, how did Smita enjoy the concert? Number 2, how did Pandit Ravi Shankar and Ustad Allah Raka keep their promise? Read the following extracts and answer the questions that follow. Number 3, Panditji is a busy man. You must not bother him with such requests. Who is the you? Who is the speaker? What does bother mean in this context? 4, tomorrow morning we perform for the boy. Yes? Identify the speaker. B, who did he speak to? C, who was the boy? This boy. Who was that? Number 5, he'll come tomorrow morning with the tabla ustad and they will play for you. A, who is the speaker? B, who does you refer to? Who was coming the following morning? All very straightforward questions. Even the extracts, make sure you write them in full sentences. That's the only way to improve your written English. All right. Answer them all before you look at the next video, which will be the final session, part 3. That's it for today. Thank you and Sai Ram.